Welcome back, Reds. In today's update, we've got the latest on Gravenberch's return, Kone test transfer situation, and a fiery response from Danny Murphy to Martin Keown. Let's dive into the news. Liverpool injury news latest as Gravenberch returns and Alexander-Arnold timeline given. Liverpool has 6 current injury concerns ahead of the Premier League clash against Everton on April 2nd. That includes Ryan Gravenberch, who dropped out of the Netherlands squad on Wednesday. Liverpool's number of injury concerns have doubled in the last 10 days, in what proved to be a grueling week of defeats against Paris Saint-Germain and Newcastle United. The Reds had just 3 absentees prior to the Champions League second leg at Anfield, but that number has risen to 6. Arne Slot will hope that with 2 weeks until the Reds' next game against Everton on April 2nd there will be plenty of time for players to recover. Here's the full list of current Liverpool absentees. Ryan Gravenberch was forced to drop out of the Netherlands squad on Wednesday night. The midfielder is still suffering from an injury sustained over the weekend that prevents him from playing in the matches against Spain. The Dutch FA said via a statement, while Liverpool confirmed the player will be assessed upon his return to Merseyside. There's no indication when that will be and how serious Gravenberch's problem is. There certainly didn't seem to be an issue when he was replaced late on against Newcastle at the weekend, and fans will hope it is a minor issue. Harvey Elliott. The midfielder also sustained an injury in the latter stages of the Carabao Cup final defeat and received treatment long after the final whistle at Wembley. He was then seen hobbling out of the ground but has since met up and trained with England's under-21s, hopefully indicating the issue is not serious. Trent Alexander-Arnold picked up an ankle injury against Paris Saint-Germain last week and was forced to sit out the Carabao Cup final as a result. The right back is not expected to return immediately after the international break, but reports have indicated he will be back by mid-April. Slot said last week that expects Alexander-Arnold to feature again this season. Connor Bradley hasn't played in over a month after suffering a hamstring injury in the 2-2 draw against Aston Villa. Northern Ireland manager Michael O'Neill said he thinks Bradley will be back before the end of the season but suggested the Liverpool protégé needs to alter his approach to games to prevent recurring injuries. We all know that Connor is a player who plays at full throttle all the time. We have talked about this, that possibly he maybe needs to learn how to manage himself a little bit through the games at time. Joe Gomez hasn't played since the disastrous FA Cup elimination at the hands of Plymouth Argyle and underwent surgery on a hamstring injury in February. He was seen undertaking recovery work at Kirkby last week, but it's not clear. Liverpool transfer stance on Ibrahima Konate as truth about £50 million release clause claim emerges. Liverpool remain eager to thrash out a new contract with Ibrahima Konate amid growing rumored interest from Real Madrid. Konate has entered the final 18 months of his current deal and revealed earlier this year he has been made a fresh offer by the Reds to extend an Anfield stay that began in the summer of 2021 when arriving from RB Leipzig for £36 million. The centre-back, though, intimated he was not close to an agreement with his focus instead on the remainder of the season. And that has prompted speculation of interest from Real Madrid and Konate's hometown club Paris Saint-Germain, with reports out of Spain this week suggesting the former have placed the defender at the top of a shortlist alongside Bournemouth's Dean Huijsen. However, the Echo understands subsequent claims Konate has a €60 million release, £50.2 million clause in his contract are wide of the mark. Liverpool are keen to avoid a repeat of the situation this season where Mohamed Salah, Virgil van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold have all entered the final year of their deals and at present are set to leave on a free transfer in the summer. Talks remain ongoing between the Reds and their respective parties over prospective new contracts, with Salah and Van Dijk having previously indicated their desire to stay at the club. Alexander-Arnold, meanwhile, is also pondering an offer from Real Madrid, who failed in an attempt to sign the right back during the January transfer window. Konate is currently with the France squad for their two-legged UEFA Nations League quarter-final against Croatia. Arne Slot hasn't exactly made Liverpool forget Jurgen Klopp, but the new boss has done brilliantly to forge his own path in the wake of such a legend. Even so, Harvey Elliott has made his enduring affection for the old manager clear. It seemed impossible that Slot would be able to do much more than compete for the Champions League places, especially after such a quiet transfer window. Klopp had seemingly squeezed every last drop from the squad in his farewell season, and it was ultimately not enough to keep pace with Manchester City and Arsenal. Yet Liverpool stands on the brink of claiming the Premier League title, partly thanks to the collapse of these rivals, admittedly, but Slot is also on track to surpass 90 points, enough to place in the top 10 best totals of all time. That's not to say he is suddenly better than Klopp, but FSG have seen enough to be very smug about their succession decision. There have certainly been some big winners from the change in management. Ryan Gravenberch never looked truly settled under Klopp, but has become an integral figure under Slot. Likewise, Cody Gakpo has been restored to his favored position on the left wing, and looks much better for it. His lack of full fitness was a real blow in the recent defeats to PSG and Newcastle. How to watch Liverpool stars for just £2.50. Liverpool have been flying this season under Arne Slot, looking set to win the Premier League in May. This is with little investment having been made into the current side, and while playing more games than ever before, as the Champions League extended its format alongside the frequent international breaks. For 2 weeks in September, October and November, the players would disband from the squad to meet up with their fellow countrymen for international fixtures. And while this often hindered the rhythm of Slot's team, this time, the international break has come when he needed it most, after the Reds were knocked out of Europe and lost the EFL Cup final within 6 days of each other. As such, the fortnight away from Premier League football gives the team an opportunity to refocus and make sure that the club's 20th league title is safely secured. For now, however, the international fixtures have a little bit of added spice this time around, and you can watch them for as little as £2.50 this week. How to watch the UEFA Nations League quarter-finals. Cody Gakpo, Ryan Gravenberch, Virgil van Dijk, Kevin Kelleher and Federico Chiesa will all be involved with their countries in the latter stages of the Nations League after finishing in the top 2 of their groups. So while Liverpool might not be in action, you can catch the club's Dutch, Irish and Italian representatives on Amazon Prime Video for as little as £2.50. With no subscription required, the matches will be available on a pay-per-view basis, with the first legs of the ties commencing tonight, before the second legs take place on Sunday 23rd. Kickoff starts at 7:45 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time for all 4 of the matches. No bottling here. Danny Murphy fires back at Martin Keown over ridiculous Arsenal vs Liverpool comparison. Danny Murphy was adamant in his opposition to Martin Keown's ridiculous claim Liverpool bottled the Carabao Cup final and Champions League. The former Arsenal player previously argued with Simon Jordan as he believed the ex-Crystal Palace owner would critique the Gunners if they had suffered the same results as Liverpool in recent weeks. Arne Slot's side were knocked out by Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League round of 16 after losing on penalties. 5 days later, on Sunday, Newcastle, thanks to goals from Dan Burn and Alexander Isak, beat Liverpool to lift their first trophy in 73 years. Speaking to Jordan, Keown said, "If this was Arsenal, losing 2 major games, you'd say they bottled it. They've just gone out of the Champions League and lost the cup final." In defense of his former club, Murphy said, "It's a ridiculous comparison. I don't even know where Martin was going with it. How can you compare? Liverpool have been in the League Cup final 3 out of the last 4 years. Won it last year. There's no bottling going on to lose a cup final or a cup competition. Even in the Champions League, they drew over 180 minutes and lost on penalties." White asked if the shine had been taken off Liverpool's season due to recent results, and Murphy said, "I think there's disappointment because at one stage they were invincible and going to win the lot. So yeah, but in reality, I think 99% of Liverpool fans at the start of the season, if you said, you're going to win the league, they'd have bitten your hand off and forgotten all the other cups." Manchester City and Arsenal were expected to go head-to-head for the 2024-25 season, but both have endured lackluster seasons. Despite losing long-time manager Jurgen Klopp prior to this season, Liverpool now lead the Premier League by 12 points. Mohamed Salah, in the last year of his contract, has been a significant factor for recent success. He currently has 32 goals and 22 assists in all competitions this season and is the Ballon d'Or favorite. Slot has proved his tactical acumen across the season, improving the Reds' defense. As well as this, in a 2-0 victory against Man City he played Curtis Jones and Dominic Szoboszlai as makeshift strikers, showcasing his adaptability. However, in recent weeks, after an impressive start to the campaign, Liverpool have slowed in their pressing. Liverpool's legs have run out of steam. Set-piece-wise, duels in the middle of the park and for pace, Liverpool couldn't cope, said Reds legend Jamie Carragher after their Carabao Cup defeat. Asked whether his players were too mentally or physically tired after the PSG loss, Slot said, "Mentally, it's always difficult to judge. Were we on Tuesday mentally or physically tired? No.